And welcome back, rugby fans, to Rugby411. As always, I'm your host. My name is Joshua Shibata, and we have a preview of two upcoming USA Women's Rugby Test matches as your number 7 ranked USA Women's will take on the number 11 ranked Japan women's team. Two matches in Japan in preparation for the big WXV competitions that both of these teams are involved in about different tier levels, which I'll explain a little bit later. But this is a great test preparation for the USA women's team, which, they're on a roll, especially as they qualify for the WXV. So this will be an interesting little contest. And you can watch both of those matches absolutely free on RugbyPassTV, which is an amazing app. Again, I'll go more into detail with that. But yeah, some great, exciting rugby action. Before we go more into detail with this, couple of huge congratulations. First of all, congratulations to the New England Free Jacks being the second two-time Major League Rugby champions and the second back-to-back two-time Major League Rugby champions, defeating the only other team to do it, the Seattle Seawolves, in a thrilling Major League Rugby championship final. It was also the largest attended MLR game in the history of the league, which is phenomenal to hear. Snapdragon Stadium, I haven't been there yet, is a beautiful stadium by all accounts, and it is great to see that there was a huge contingent of rugby fans enjoying the action. Of course, again, congratulations to the women's USA Sevens team winning the bronze medal in the French Olympics. I believe I already gave them a shout out last time, but it bears repeating because it's been huge here in the United States. Making the household names of all the women's players, including, of course, Ilona Maher, who has become the most followed women's rugby player in all of rugby with 2 million plus followers on Instagram alone. It has really sparked interest in rugby here in the United States, which I'm hoping we can jump on quickly. Granted, it is sevens, a little bit different than what I'm talking about with 15s, but hey, if you are new to the sport of rugby and you're coming to my channel, because again, my channel is to give you guys information about rugby, Rugby411, as well as to preview a lot of competitions that are happening here with your USA teams, not only in the United States, but around the world. This is definitely something to look into. Now again, this is 15s, a little bit bigger of sport, a little bit slower, but hey, the USA Women's is ranked number 7 right now in the world. That is not too shabby. They are preparing for, as I before mentioned, the WXV, which is the biggest women's competition yearly for all of the major rugby programs in all of the world. USA is in the Tier 1 division in that competition, which is huge for USA Rugby. All in preparation, of course, for the next Women's Rugby World Cup, which is going to happen in 2026. There you go. 2025. So next year, had to do the math in my head. 2026 next year in Australia, right before they're going to be hosted here in the United States in 2033. So, I mean, there's a lot going on, and it's exciting. It's really, really exciting as we're getting closer to seeing rugby being played here, both on the men's and the women's 2031 and 2033. So I'm super, super stoked, super excited, and can't wait to get on with this. So let's talk about this. So this is going to be 2 actual test competition matches, and like I said, this is in preparation for USA and Japan, who are going to both be competing in the WXV competitions. Now again, the WXV competition, established last year, is the biggest international women's competition between all of the top nations in women's rugby. It's divided into 3 different tiers, Tier 1, 2, and 3. Last year, USA Rugby was only able to make Tier 2. This year, they qualified for Tier 1. So this is the first time that the USA women's team will be competing since May, when they competed in the Pacific 4 Series, where they qualified not only for the World Cup, but also for the Tier 1 competition. So again, this is huge for women's rugby, and it's huge for Japan Rugby as well, because it's preparation for them as they're going to be in the Tier 2 WXV competition. Both of those starting in September. The WXV1 is going to be in Canada. WXV2 is going to be in South Africa. So, again, USA Women's Rugby is ranked number 7. Japan is ranked number 11. This is the third time, the third and fourth time that these two teams will ever have competed. They've only faced each other off twice. Coincidentally, both of those times were during Rugby World Cups. The first time was in the 2021 Rugby World Cup, which actually happened in 2022. USA beat Japan 30-17, and then the very first time that these two teams met was way back in 1994. So technically, this is going to be the 30-year anniversary since they first met. And boy, what a scoreline! USA beat Japan 121. That's correct. 121-0. I'm sure the scoreline for these two games is not going to reflect that nearly as much. Both teams are quite different since then. But both of these games are going to be competing in Japan. So that's why, yes, you saw correctly. The first game is going to be Sunday, August 11th, 2 a.m. Pacific Standard Time. So way too early for us West Coast. Early morning for the East Coast at 5 a.m. And then Game 2 Saturday, August 17th, 2 a.m. Pacific Standard Time. Like I mentioned before, both these games could be watched live, fortunately for us West Coast fans, on demand on RugbyPassTV, which is the official app for World Rugby, the organization that organizes and oversees all of international rugby competition. RugbyPassTV is amazing. Not only do they have original broadcasting, they have a great drama series or documentary series on rugby referees and how critical and how brutal their life can be as they are criticized for. I mean, if you think your life is pretty tough being criticized, imagine being a rugby referee, especially one during the Rugby World Cup, and it goes through the lives of a couple of referees during those times, and just the scrutiny they get during that time. It is a remarkable series. There's one also called Chasing After the Sun, which documents the recent Rugby World Cup winners on the men's side, South Africa, and their journey to win their record-breaking 4th Rugby World Cup. Not only that, of course, there's loads of free rugby games to watch. Not only is all the sevens competitions there, except for the Olympics, which you have to watch that on the Peacock. But there's rugby sevens, there's international rugby competitions, college rugby, club rugby, lots of free rugby, absolutely free. And you can watch this competition, and also the WXV will be there. Under 20s competition that USA just had a remarkable run in, finishing second in the Under 20s trophy tournament. That's all on RugbyPassTV. So if you missed any of those games, you can watch that on RugbyPassTV as well. So both these games are going to be occurring in Japan. The first game is going to be in Mikuni World Stadium in Kita-Kyushu, which is northern Kyushu. Kyushu is the third biggest island in all of Japan. If you don't know, Japan is made up of 4 big islands. Kyushu is the third largest and the southernmost one. And then the second game on Saturday, August 17th is going to be at the ECOPA Stadium in Shizuoka, which is one of the largest cities in Japan, located right between Tokyo and Nagoya. So, a very big city which has a lot of rugby fans. I visited there a couple of times, and yeah, lots of rugby diehard fans there. So, the women's teams will have a pretty good following for both of those games. Just recently, head coach Sione Fukufuka, who just was hired this year to lead the USA in a great Pacific 4 Series run. As I mentioned before, that series, they clinched not only into the WXV1, but they also clinched the Rugby World Cup qualifier. So far, Sione's done very well. He just recently announced the 30-woman roster for the traveling roster that's going to be going over to Japan for these games. Now, it's way too early to mention who's going to be the starting 15 or the starting 23, with just the 15 women that are starting and then the 8 women that will be sitting on the bench. But from these 30, any of these women that are in the 30 traveling roster could play, including a couple of debutantes that could make their debut in this series. it's a kind of a young roster if you look at it. A couple of your veteran players are not there. But they do have, I'll go through the list, but they do have, of course, Katie Benson, who is a huge player and a huge leader for the team, as well as Olivia Ortiz as well. But let's go over the roster and we'll go over all the names. Bam, right there. So as I mentioned before, the before-mentioned Katie Benson at prop from the Sale Sharks, which Sale Sharks is a Premiership women's team that's in Europe, which you'll notice a lot of these women play either some of the teams that are in, we talked about this before because this has been a pretty hot topic, in the Women's Premier League, which is the current semi-professional league here in the United States, which could evolve into the WER Women's Elite Rugby League that is going to be starting pretty soon. But then also a bunch of them do play in Europe, which is for the Premiership Women's Rugby League, which is the top tier club women's pro league in Europe. So a lot of talent over there. Katie Benson plays for the Sale Sharks over there. 43 caps. Of the number of names here, she is the most capped member of the Eagles right now. Maya Learn, prop from the Colorado Grey Wolves, who are the reigning, defending WPL Women's League team here in the United States with 11 caps. Kia Mai Sagopolo, prop Leicester Tigers, again playing in Europe, 9 caps. Charlie Jacoby, one of my favorite players, young, plays for the Exeter Chiefs over in Europe, prop 28 caps. Olivia Leatherman from Life West here in the United States, 3 caps under her name. Catherine Schroeder, hooker for the Loughborough Lightnings, another team from Europe, 28 caps. Paige Sithopoulos, hooker from Beantown RFC here in America, 8 caps. Sahir Hamden, hooker from the Colorado Grey Wolves, 4 cap. Haley Taufou from Loughborough Lightnings, lock, 17 caps. Erica Jarrell, also lock for Sale Sharks, 9 caps. Jenny Cronish, another big name for the Eagles, lock, Beantown RFC, 15 caps. One of the possible debutantes that will maybe get her first cap on this 2-game trip to Japan, Emerson Allen, lock from Life West, which is a WPL team, but she also works with the Rhinos Academy, which is in Southern California, close to LA, near me. Talia Brody, flanker from the Leicester Tigers with 10 caps. Rachel Orecki, flanker, Colorado Grey Wolves, 13 caps. Freda Tafuna, center from Lindenwood University, 8 caps. Joanna Nana Faivesi, center from Life West, also a Women's Premier League team, 6 caps. Katana Howard, another talented young player for the Eagles, center, Leicester Tigers, 16 caps. Anam Sablicki, for a center, Life West, she is also a USA Sevens player, who did not make the Olympics team, but she has contributed quite a bit on this season's USA Women's team that did very well in the HSBC Sevens program. 5 caps under her name. Olivia Ortiz, scrum half from Sale Sharks, 20 caps. Taina Chukuafu, scrum half, Berkeley All Blues from Europe, 9 caps. Another possible debutante, Sophie Priz, scrum half from Life West and the Rhinos Academy in Southern California. Mackenzie Hawkins, fly half, Colorado Grey Wolves, 15 caps. Gabby Cantorna, another veteran Eagles from the Exeter Chiefs, 25 caps. Bulo Mataitaga, winger, Loughborough Lightning, 17 caps. Atumata Hingano, winger, Life West. USA Sevens, again, not part of the Olympic team, but did contribute quite a bit this season. Summer Harris-Jones, another great contributor to the Sevens program. Unfortunately, not in that Olympic starting lineup, but she's a great talent. Winger, 3 caps. Sophie Lamphere, winger, Berkeley All Blues. Possible debutante, could make her debut in this series, along with Saria Ibarra, fullback from the Sevens program debutante, and Tess Fury, another talented player, fullback from the Leicester Tigers, 26 caps. So that is your roster of the traveling women that will be there. Of course, any one of them could possibly be playing in these 2 games. As I mentioned before, a great warm-up for these both of these teams for Japan, women's and the USA women's. As I mentioned before, the WXV, which is a huge, I honestly feel the WXV is a great competition for women's rugby. It gives a lot of these women's teams chance to chance to play against international talent that they normally wouldn't be able to play if there was no WXV. Getting test matches set up like this one with Japan are very, very difficult for a women's team. So having a constant yearly annual international competition WXV is huge, and then having these matches to prepare for that is even huge as well. Siono Fukufuka has mentioned that it has been tough to get the women to get together. They had plans to have little setup test points around the country in the last couple of months where they had as many women as they could kind of get together, do a couple practice training sessions. There's been a lot of Zoom sessions, but again, it kind of shows, you know, it is tough, especially with the way that the U.S. is so spread out, to get all these women. Also, too, pay isn't great for these women who have regular jobs and they have to take the time off to then go to these areas, to whatever part of the country, to meet up with all the women, to train together in preparation for this. We see it with the men's, no different with the women. It's very, very tough. But Sione Fukufuka has been trying to get all the women to get together periodically before this contest in Japan. A lot of Zoom meetings to get the women all on the same page together. And like I said, so far, the results have spoken for themselves. Qualifying for the WXV won the top tier. Qualifying for the Rugby World Cup, huge. So I think head coach Fukufuka has done a really good job so far with these women. I do believe they'll probably do pretty well with Japan. Japan is the Sakura Berry Blossoms have been pretty tough. They're just like any Japanese team, both men and women in the sevens program. You can never count them out. They can beat you on any given day if you let them. So that will give the women some very good competition. And as I mentioned before, great preparation for both teams for the WXV. Once again, both of these games you can watch absolutely free on RugbyPassTV. Sunday, August 11th is the first one, 2 a.m. Pacific Standard Time. Saturday, August 17th, 2 a.m. Pacific Standard Time kickoff is the second game, both of them in Japan. I will definitely be watching later on demand. But anyway, either way, congratulations to the women's sevens program once again for winning bronze. Good luck to the women's going off to Japan. Definitely going to be excited to see them in the WXV later on in a couple of months. But that's it. That's my video. Of course, as I mentioned before in my prior video, though Major League Rugby is over, videos like this will be delivered almost every week. We have so much more competitions coming up. Sevens is over technically because of the Olympics, but we still have Rugby Town Sevens, one of the biggest sevens competitions here in the United States. Gonna be huge. I do a preview video all the time. I'll do a preview video of that. We also, of course, have the men's are going to be doing their Pacific Nations Tournament, kicking off with a competition against Canada later this month here in Los Angeles at Dignity Health Sports Park. So, of course, I'll be doing a preview video on that. And then before you know it, we're going to be right back into Sevens HSB, which is going to kick off in December. And then before you know it, Major League Rugby next year. Also, we have the draft coming up in a couple of months. So we got still a lot going on in this off season. So don't worry, content will be provided. And as always, thank you very much for checking out my videos. Thank you very much for subscribing. And leave a comment below if you have any questions that you have for me. And as always, I'll see you on the pitch.